Greetings, Commanders! Welcome to another Boss Commander breakdown. We call them a Boss Commander because they have a significant impact on the meta. A lot of Commander breakdowns I do are really featuring Commanders that don't have an effect on the mid-game or late game. But this is Reinhardt, and Reinhardt is going to have an effect on the super late game meta. He is going to be a top 10 commander, and he is the first legitimate answer to Rogers. He is a legitimate Rogers counter. There's a lot of commanders in the game that can stand toe-to-toe with Rogers, like Robin and Lilith. Kind of Rita, kind of Plasma, but essentially they're not. Rogers is still going to win. Reinhardt, on the other hand, is the first commander that's actually going to win in a toe-to-toe fight. I wish I had the replay to prove it. I do have some replays to show how it's going to work, but what we really want to see in Season 6 is someone showing off Reinhardt versus Rogers in a 100,000 leadership plus T12 matchup with max gear, and we'll really see what he can do. Because he certainly does scale with gear. He does get better and better as time goes on. So I picked up Reinhardt from the Thanksgiving festivities. I'll show you how I did that here. Basically, you just do the dailies and get Attn turkeys, and then you do the endless thing here. Let's see. There you go. And that's how you get Reinhardt. It took me like 6 turkeys. It was really easy, but it is a bit more difficult to get into S-Class. You do have to spend a little more money, and you have to farm a bunch of snowballs. But if you do the daily speed-ups and gold spend, you can definitely significantly increase how many Reinhardts you get, how quickly you get them. So he's not that hard to get to S-Class. Anyway, so I've gone ahead and got Reinhardt available. Let's open him up, take a look at his flavor text, and we'll talk about what kind of gear we have to use and how to utilize his skills to the full effect. Because he's a very interesting commander. He is actually a recycled skill commander. None of his abilities are new abilities. They're just new percents with new wording, but essentially just remakes of old gear, or remakes of old commanders. So let's grab him. Where is he? First try. Nice, nice. Okay, we're leaving the skills at level 1 just for the sake of, I don't know, because I don't need them at high levels. I have replays at high levels. Okay, so Reinhardt, start with the flavor text. Reinhardt was born into a famous aristocrat family who first established close ties with the Transcenders and developed and grew secretly. The days became with all that was expected from him. He escaped his home and helped Gollum establish the most important training organization for the Black Ice Company. So he's a Black Ice merc who trained with Gollum. Cool. Yeah, it's kind of got the whole space cowboy look. It kind of matches with what we do here on Orca War, so he looks good. The red eyes is kind of throwing me off, and the face mask is kind of goofy, something you'd see on Wish.com, but whatever. Not a bad-looking commander. No current side skins yet, but, oh, he's got a hook arm. Look at that. He's got a hook on that arm. Anyway, let's talk about what he does. Well, he's an airship commander, and he has rockets 20% skill at 40%. So for ignore tier suppression commanders, we have the main ones, right? Bullet, Maruko, Rock. Is there a 20% Walker commander I'm forgetting? 20% Walker commander? I don't know. Okay, definitely Bullet and Rock. They have the 40% Annihilator Ray and Ghost Cannon, and that's how you can use low tier to hit high tier and ignore tier suppression. It's a very powerful mechanic. I use it. A lot of people use it. Airship has it too. It's called Energy Armor. So Reinhardt has it. It's called Hyperspace Armor, but originally when Rocket came out, she had this energy armor at 40%, and she was super overpowered because the thing about energy armor is it's not a one-off skill like Ghost Cannon. It doesn't just trigger, hit, potentially miss, and then go on to the next skill. Once you trigger energy armor on that slot, it stays on that slot until it goes all the way around. So it can continue to hit both troops that attack it, or both slots that attack it, and it works on skills, I think. I don't know if it works on Awakening. I don't think it works on Awakenings. Doesn't work on Awakenings or skill damage, but definitely on the melee damage. And you can dodge and still trigger your energy armor on your opponent. And it hits really hard. It hits just like Ghost Cannon and Annihilator Ray, and I'll show you that damage as well for your own reference. But let's get back to Reinhardt. So Airship Commander with a 30, 40, 60% skill set. This is obviously in the Airship Awakening 60%. And the first skill is Constellation Blast. So what this does is this is Elf or Vega's heal. It's not the best heal in the game, but because Reinhardt is going to be a late-game boss-style commander, you're going to march him with at least 1, 2, 3 in the front, maybe all 6 slots if you have the troops for it. Very high leadership, very high defense gear. You're really going to want extra defense on the gear. Maybe like half damage, half defense. You can have 1 EB and then 1 Titan. You could do that. So something like this. Maybe not dodge, though. I would definitely go defense or Valkyrie in the helm. And then either tier suppression in the chest, because you are going to have to be standing toe-to-toe with people. So even fabrication is fine here, but damage is fine, dodge is fine, depending on what you're up against. High-level players are going to mix that up as needed. But the idea is that you want to survive as many hits as possible, because every time Constellation Blast gets hit with Awakening or skills, it heals the stack of troops. So, if you have 100 units to start, and you take a beating, but you still have troops there with this buff on it, every time they get hit, whether it be for 100,000 damage or 1 damage, this trigger heal is the exact same for the missing amount of troops. So, if you lose 50 units, you can keep triggering this 5 or 6 times as a long fight goes on and actually heal back up and get those troops back, because everyone hates losing troops, they're expensive, but this skill is not that bad. There's plenty of bad 20-30% skills, and this one's 30%, and it's a good heal. So I do like it, especially because Hyperspace Armor, the second skill, is going to put us in a weird predicament. Do we go Dodge Reinhardt like we do Dodger Roger, or do we go Defense Tank Reinhardt? On one hand, Dodger Reinhardt is nice because there's a little utility there. You can maybe use them smaller marches, and not getting hit at all is really nice, especially when you can catch a commander who doesn't have guaranteed hit skills. But going full-on tank gear is really nice too, because it's really hard to break a full defensive tanked character. So Valkyrie, Black Knight, Eternal Barrier, Fabrication, it's so hard to take tier 12 troops or tier 11 troops off of anyone, or any high tier fight. Tier 7 versus tier 7, if that's where you're at in the game. It's really hard to break them if they have full defense gear, and Hyperspace Armor is going to keep getting value as long as those troops are there, and that heal is going to keep getting value. And remember, the heal will trigger whether you hit them or not. So it's kind of a toss-up. I think he's better to play defensive because they give you the skill, because you're going to get value out of it. And frankly, it's just scarier going against a tank commander, because you just know they could take the hits. And the only one that could break through a commander like this is really Vega. Vega's the best option. Stella can do it, but Elixir can do it, but Vega could really break through. You basically will beat Reinhardt kind of the same way you beat Rogers. You really don't want to go toe-to-toe with Reinhardt. He's going to punish you bad. But, he isn't invulnerable. He doesn't go invulnerable like Rogers does. So let's talk about that. I'm gonna talk about his meta use, and we'll go into the replays next. So how are you going to use Reinhardt? Well, the best way to use him is if you're a super high-level player and your enemy decides to just camp a Rogers with max tier in your base. How do you get rid of Rogers? There's no way to do a fair march, 100,000 leadership against Rogers. It's impossible to break him. The only way is with another Rogers, or now Reinhardt. That's amazing. Otherwise, you just got a one-slot bust over and over and over and keep losing until you break through one slot and kill him. But with Reinhardt, you can actually break through Rogers now in one go of it. And pretty successfully, too. So not only does Rogers have low offensive skill, so you're going to keep triggering your own Constellation Blast to heal yourself, but also the Hyperspace Armor breaks the Rogers defense, and it hits really hard. And you can ignore all that defense stat armor, because Hyperspace Armor is a true strike, like Ghost Cannon or Annihilator Ray. It doesn't really matter what their gear is. It's just going to do 16% of their base troop damage to them. And I'll explain that here in a second. So, yeah, Reinhardt's best matchup, definitely against Rogers. He does okay in a toe-to-toe march against everyone else, as long as you have him built for tank. Like I said, you can go dodge, but to kind of feel that out for yourself. This is a pretty big decision if you're going to full march. He's a high-risk commander. You don't want a one-slot bust with him. However, you can. He's just not really going to give you a lot of value back for one-slot bust formation. But if you do main him and you want to use one-slot bust, you can. You're just not going to get the value you normally get out of typical one-slot bust commanders like Vega, Golem, Stella, Elixir, He doesn't. His 40% skill, his 30% skill isn't really going to do anything, but he can. Unlike Rogers, if you try to one-slot bust with Rogers, 20% of the time he doesn't even attack because a Tyrant cometh. So yeah, who's he weak against? Yeah, just the typical stuff. Vega, especially. A little bit of Stella. Doesn't really have to worry about any of the Walker commanders. The Walker commanders, like Elf is good. Elf is still going to give him trouble. I think Elf is the main concern. Hoodoo, Pictor, not really going to do much. He's not going to be needing to dodge anyone. He'll do well against Pictor and Hoodoo. But just Elf is his main concern. Okay, I was talking about Hyperspace Armor and Ignore Tier Suppression skills. I'm going to cover that and we'll go to the replays. The Ignore Tier Suppression skills are Maruko's Quick Strike, Fire Strike. Yeah, one of those. Bullets, Ghost Cannon, Rock's Annihilator Ray. Soda Man has a Shrapnel Armor that works like a Ignore Tier Suppression. Rocket has energy armor, and then Reinhardt now has a 40% Ignore Tier Suppression Hyperspace Armor. This is the third 40% Ignore Tier Suppression skill in the game. We've won it in Airship. Oh, I'm sorry. Blader has Pounce. It's a 20% Ignore Tier Suppression skill. So now we finally have an Ignore Tier Suppression airship commander with a 40% skill, but it requires you to get hit or dodge while they're attempting to hit you. But you do get more value as time goes on. But if they hit you and they destroy your entire slot, you get nothing out of your hyperspace armor. It does not damage them if they one-shot your slot. So you trigger the hyperspace armor, you think you're all good, you're using tier 1 just to try to do some ignore tier suppression shenanigans, and next thing you know, your opponent hits your energy armor full force, one slot, explodes your slot, and you go, huh, where's the damage? Where's the damage? If your troops don't survive, you do 0 damage back to the attacker. So it kind of sucks. You can't really use tier 1 with Reinhardt if you want to take advantage of this skill. You do have to go high tier, which kind of ignores the point of being an ignore tier suppression skill, but it does hit really hard. So just kind of worth noting. And I won't beat that dead horse anymore. You guys kind of, I hope you get that. All right, so let's show the first replay. I want to say shout out to Tension and Raptor for helping get these replays, and then also Fat Cat. I got a good replay from him, but the quality is potato, so I'm going to try and full max it. So what I want to show in this replay is that on the left-hand side, we have 6 units of tier 10 airships, which is 3,600 leadership with a level 60 skill. So take a step back. 3,600 leadership, level 60 skill. So max skill, 3,600 leadership, which is what a typical A commander is who isn't S-class. You get him 3,600 leadership during an add leadership event, and it just caps at 60%. So that's why he's 3,600. So you'll notice Rogers has his defensive stack fully on. You see that? Actually, let me see. I got to go all the way back. How far into this are we? So, okay. So, yeah, defensive stack is on. It's not fully on yet, but it is in this video. So he gets hyperspace armor on slot 3. That's important. Hyperspace armor on slot 3. That's what I want to show you. Right there. There it is. See? Okay, so he has his level 60 hyperspace armor, and then Gemini's going to trigger. He's going to hit him twice. Ready? So the first hit is going to do... Oh, there's Tyrant Cometh. Sorry, that's the next video. Okay. Maybe we can see some healing in this video. Okay, so he misses all those. So Fat Cat is dodging a lot of this. So the defensive stack at this point is fully on. There he goes. Boom. There's the hit. So the defensive stack's fully loaded. He has 100% reduction. He's still getting hit for 85,950. We'll call it 86,000. 86,000. Okay, and that's based off the energy armor of a level of 6 units of tier 10. Okay, so let me just make it real simple. 3,600 leadership with a level 60 skill is roughly 86,000 damage, which in this turn is about 600 units worth of troop, which infantry generally does have low HP, so more infantry units will die on a stack like this. Airship troops might be twice as durable, but essentially what this turns out to is in a big leadership fight, you can assume that 3,600 leadership, right, that triggered the armor, ends up doing, he kills 3 units of tier 10, which is 600 units. So 600 divided by 3,600, he does about 17% true damage just instantly. If you swing at this troop and it dodges or takes the hit, as long as it survives, it'll instantly do whatever the triggering armor was, 17% back to it. So if he had 100,000 units versus 100,000 units, if the opponent hit his stack, he would kill 17,000 instantly, which is really strong. It doesn't seem that strong. A lot of people are just so used to getting one shot by high tier, or even in a fair fight, they just get blasted by a golem or a Vega, and they're just like, you one shot my entire slot. That doesn't happen in super fair fights, high level, with good gear, especially now with 3 and 4 gems in the gear. Especially against Rogers. You do not kill this many troops of Rogers so easily, which is why it was amazing when Vega came onto the scene. He just started blasting through Rogers. So this goes on, and you'll notice this isn't just a one-off, like, he got lucky, he did the ignore tier suppression skill. No, this continues to happen over and over. You can see he's already done it on the 2nd slot, he's done it on the 5th slot, and then here's what I want to show you. Now, there he goes, does it on the 6th slot. Now, you'll notice the 3rd slot has the buff on it, right? Right there, I'm trying to show you. The 3rd slot does have the buff, and it's going to take a hit, okay? And when it takes the hit, it's gonna be a Gemini hit. The damage on the 2nd hit is lower because there's less troops alive that got hit and survived. Okay, so, right there. Okay, that's what you got to see. When the troop slot gets one shot, it does 0 damage back. So he has a hyperspace armor. The slot 3 totally kills him, and then boom, 0 damage back because there's 0 left to calculate. The damage is based, if the slot survived, the damage is based on how many units started, not how many units survived. That's important to know. Okay, Let's see if this replay has anything else for us. I think it might show us that one more time. Maybe not this one. Okay, so thanks Fat Cat for that. That's a great replay, great gear. He got his guy to level 60 skill real quick. Okay, let's see the damage analysis. So here's a better one from Tension and Raptor's session, man. They put out a lot of informational stuff for us. So a lot of sound here. So we'll see. It's a tier 2 versus tier 2 fight, which is totally fine for testing purposes. It's very similar to tier 12 versus tier 12. So there's the damage, right? Now, it seems more substantial in this replay, because the leadership is so different. But what you have is a 5,200 leadership on the left, and then you have a 1,600 leadership on the right. So he's got about 4 times as much leadership and airships on the left. So don't forget that is substantial. So when Elixir does hit his hyperspace armor, when he does hit Reinhardt's hyperspace armor, it does seem to do a lot of damage. But remember, that's because there's a higher level of leadership activating it. So the more troops you have to trigger the skill, the more damage it's going to do. Okay. So I want to show you that. The first hit is 62,000. Okay, 62,300 or 62,700 damage, and that's because at the time when he hit him, he had 262 units. Now on the second Gemini, the energy armor is still there, but there's only 206 units instead of 262. So instead of him getting Thorns damage for 62,700, it's going to be a little bit less. Should be like 40,000 something. 34,279. Okay, there it is. Easy peasy, right? So it does, as long as the slot survives, the damage still gets done. Oh god, there it goes again. Jeez, even lower this time. So 3 times in a row we get to see how low the damage scales down. So the more leadership, the more damage. Easy enough, right? Oh boy, all this proof stuff. It's a lot of redundancy. So thanks for sticking around for all this, guys. If you're still here listening, this is just so much. I'm trying to cover all my bases, make sure I don't miss anything, so that people in the comments don't have to ask questions. But if you do have questions, please put it in the comments below. If I missed anything, please point it out. I'll super like the comments or whatever and put them at the top. And like the video if you like these kind of things. Do the bell icon if you want to see new videos as they come out. And tell your guildmates about the channel. They play Ark of War. There's a lot of good content. There's 250 videos of Ark of War at least. So yeah, you want good allies. Teach them how to teach them how to play the game by watching these videos. Helps me out. Helps you out. Awesome. Okay, anything else about Reinhardt I missed? I got another video here. Let's see. Oh, there's the heal, just showing the heal damage. I'll go ahead and put that up so you know how much it is. It's not a very long video, and like I said, it does scale better with... Oh, this is a good example of surviving a tier 9 hit with tier 2 and still doing your ignore tier suppression damage back. Now, this seems like a great trade if you don't have tier 9 and you want to kill someone with tier 9, but that's a lot of airships to heal, and really tier 9 is... You don't like healing tier 9, it's expensive, but it's not that expensive. Healing 700 tier 2 is a lot. Not that lot. It's not a lot. It's comparable. So just showing you the ignore tier suppression does work, but like I said, it's not a great matchup for him because you have to survive to do the damage. I want to show you that. I need to show you that proof. I have proof there. So just so you know, this is ignore tier suppression, or this is tier suppression gear. So we're not pulling a bamboozle on you. Okay, so he starts at 262. The damage is right here. Yeah, we're not interested in the heal here. Okay. We kind of are interested in the heal. That's good. So 94 units survive, and he does 16,265 back. So as long as units survive, the damage is the same. Is it 6,265? Yeah, 6,265. So the damage should be the same. Should be the same, even though there's going to be less units surviving. So there's 97 units, exact same damage. So like I said, it's based off the original starting HP as long as the slot survives, not with how many units survive the attack. So it's a good skill. It really is a good skill. In a toe-to-toe fight, it's going to do really well. So that's the thing, man. I really do like Reinhardt. You know, let's conclude the video. Let's talk about Reinhardt. Is he a good commander? Dude, he's a super good commander. What's the biggest problem in Season 5 and Season 6 is when a player like Bingo or 66 drops or Male God drops like a a million leadership Rogers with full tier 11, full tier 12. How do you get that Rogers out of your base? You can't. You have to one slot bust over and over and plasma bomb over and over. There was never an answer to the Rogers problem. So whenever I used to do commander breakdowns, it was always like, what's the real threat out there? It's Rogers. There's no way to counter Rogers. So it was like Stella became super powerful because of her triple strike or double strikes, and then she was able to break through Rogers better than anyone else. Even though it wasn't the best solution, it was better than everyone else. Galileo, Blader, all the tempo commanders kind of got pushed on the back because even though they were incredibly good commanders, they couldn't answer the Rogers problem. So whenever someone stuck a Rogers in the enemy or in your base, you were screwed. There was nothing you could do. Now that there's a commander that legitimately counters Rogers and beats him, it's possible we might see a shift back to tempo commanders. We might see the return of Galileo. We might see the return of Blader. We might see the return or the appearance of Echo. I don't think we're going to see Thunder Ray because he doesn't have enough full body skills. But don't kid yourself. Now that Reinhardt's going to be a thing, so could Echo. Echo's skills are... is it Echo? Let me think. 100% chance to trigger after all of our troops have been destroyed in a different slot. No, not Echo. Who am I thinking of? Am I thinking of Thunder Ray? I know he has the heal. Oh well. It's not Echo. Scratch that. Throw that away. It's definitely tempo commanders we like. Thunder Ray is okay. I don't think he's good enough, but definitely we're going to see more Galileo and Blader as viable options if people start replacing Rogers with Reinhardt, which I think the super boss commanders are going to hang on to Rogers because he is so freaking good against everyone else. The only one he's not good against is going to be Reinhardt. But if people start picking up Reinhardt, and you say, okay, well, I know my opponent has a Reinhardt to counter my Rogers. Should I just go back to my tempo builds? Should I go back to Blader? Should I go back to Stella? So I do really like the overall meta shift that's going on. There is some balancing going on. We've needed an adjustment to Rogers for years. And I'm glad he's here. I'm glad Reinhardt's here. I look forward to seeing what people are going to do with him. I really hope we see maybe next week in the Galactic Battle some people showing him off. And he wasn't that hard to get to S-Class. So, yeah. I think that covers it, man. The King of Thorns, Reinhardt, he's here. He's a big deal, man. He's a huge deal. And I get a lot of pushback from people thinking, he's not going to be that big of a deal. Yes, he's a high-risk commander. Yes, you have to have good gear. Yes, you have to have high-tier troops. Yes, he's high-risk. But in the bossest of boss fights, in the toe-to-toe blast 1v1 mano-a-mano fights, Reinhardt is up there with the best of them. And he beats Rogers. I don't have the high-level Rogers with Reinhardt replay to show you yet. It's not going to be as compelling as the Vega video, but it's going to be good enough to convince you that this guy is a legit answer. When I get it, I'll post it. I don't have it for this breakdown, but that's pretty much it. I hope I covered it. My name is Melt. If you have any questions, put in the comments below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.